Welcome to Coffee Hour number 2. This was basically Chit Chat number 3. um, so I did a video about this earlier, not today, but at some point, at some time this week, I did a video about it. At least I'd like to think I did a video about it. So I'm going to talk to you young men of color. Alright? If you are not a young man of color, stick around, because this will affect you too. Now, by young men of color, I need you all to understand this one thing. I'm not being an asshole because you need to hear this. I'm being an asshole because honesty is the only policy that I do, especially here. So, I'm trying to word this as properly as possible, and I'm about to get close to the machine. I just want to see how I'm going to get on my knees here, because I'm limited on space. Okay. I did a video. Oh, damn it. My foot's feeling funny. Let's trade knees. Okay. Old age. Both knees now. Anyway, I did a video. And I kind of want to make sure that it is directed to my two nephews who are not in their 20s yet. As for my nephews who are in their 20s, you're old enough to do what you need to do. You're old enough to know better, and you're also old enough to take heed of the consequences of your actions. Because actions do have consequences, some good, some bad, and you're stuck in the middle of what you chose to do. If your action brings a bad consequence, then it wasn't a good action to think about doing in the first place, and now you have to live with the fuck up that you have done. I am sorry for swearing, but this is a very important thing that all young men should hear. You have the ability at your moment in life, from 13 to 21, to make decisions that will affect the outcome of the rest of your life for the rest of your life. If I happen to swear from this point on, understand that it is passion for saving young lives, and not just some old man flipping out and doing stuff that is beyond his control. Yes, I cleaned my screen with my socks that I'm going to be putting on my feet. They're clean. Anyway, if your dad was taken from you by drugs, my question is to you, why would you then do the same damn drugs? Alright? If your mom, or any family member in general, was taken from you by the use of drugs, regardless of that drug, why would you do drugs? See, a lot of my family members have experimented, if you would, but not me. I dabbled with alcohol. I almost became a full-blown alcoholic when I got out of the military. Thank God my money ran out, or God only knows where I would be, or if I'd even still be alive. I didn't do anything reckless or stupid, but sometimes shit just happens, and some of us get caught in the middle of some shit that we just can't get out of. I.e., actions bring consequences. Now, I only drank to get my buzz because the very first time I got drunk in my life, I tried to assassinate my 3 best friends at their house. We're at one of their houses while we were all gathering, and I drank a Magnum 211. Now, prior to that, before I was 21, I drank wine coolers all damn day. Didn't have a problem with wine coolers. I got a buzz, that was it. But I got drunk on one Magnum 211. At that time, I probably weighed like maybe $1.15. So lightweight was more than just a term. It was literal. And I hadn't eaten that day. And I tried to eliminate 3 of my bros. BJ, Adrian, and Scott. We were in Barbersville. They took my keys and they locked me outside until the shit wore off. I remember it vividly. I regret that decision. But I am grateful that I didn't hurt anybody, because I've been doing martial arts since I was 7. I've been doing street fighting since I was 6. All of that shit pretty much stopped at the age of 12. And then 13, 14, I didn't really have any fights. Unless they were like school fights, and they never happened at school. After school, but most of the people that would challenge me, I'd show up and they wouldn't. And then I had gotten my very last set of fights was when I was 15, and I got to fighting like every day of that week except for Wednesday. I got to fighting on Monday, I got to fighting on Tuesday, Wednesday was like I took a break, Thursday I got to fighting, and Friday. Now out of the fights, The first and the last were the only two that got physical because I know Kung Fu. The first one got physical. I asked for that. My friend, I'm leaving names off, he kicked me in the ass and I fell on my face. Now, my face was pretty ugly. It's exactly the same now, but I was very partial of my face. I came up with a spinning back kick and commenced to whoop his ass. All over the fact that our fingernails and our teeth are dead skin. Scientifically proven. You can fact check that. But I don't really care if I'm wrong. Just letting you know what the fight was about. The last fight was on a Friday. The only person's name I'm going to name is the guy that told me, don't forget you know Kung Fu. And we were playing wrestling. So I've always been a wrestling fan, but because I'm small, I've never been given a chance to do anything in my hopes and dreams. I've always wanted to be a wrestler. But I'm 5'3" and a half, if you want to count that half. There is no wrestling spots for me. Period. Rey Mysterio, for full grownness, is the shortest wrestler at like 5'7", 5'6", 5'7". And I'm way shorter than him. I also weigh way less than him because he's like a $170 or $190, and I'm a $125 to a $130, if that. UFC wouldn't take me because I was 19 and I was like a $125, and he was like, get your weight up. And I couldn't legally gain weight no matter what I tried. It wasn't happening. And there was a glitch in this, so if you happen to see that, there's a glitch in the Matrix. Anyway, so that was a problem. Back to the fight. My friend David, he told me, his last name is Hutchinson, just so he doesn't get mixed up with any other Davids. He said, don't forget you know Kung Fu. Now, when we picked our wrestlers, I wanted to be Sting, but David was quicker on the tongue, so he got to be Sting. And I got to be Rugged Ronnie Garvin. Shout out to Rugged Ronnie Garvin, wherever you may be. And I decided, okay, I'll be Rugged Ronnie Garvin. And we were playing wrestling on a pissy mattress, as most kids in the projects do. Because, you know, we're going to go home and take a shower anyway. But we're playing on a pissy mattress. So there's 4 guys against 2. So it's a 2-on-4 match, you know. Nothing we couldn't handle. There's no ropes, but there's a mattress with piss stains. And we played on that shit. And so there were 4 guys grabbed me. One by this arm, one by this arm, one by both legs. Because one was on the right, one was on the left. Now they didn't pick me up, which was kind of stupid on their half. Because then they probably would have had me. But they didn't pick me up. And I was in their corner, so they were pretty much beating my ass. Or at least until David said, hey dummy, remember, you know Kung Fu. I'm trying to stay in character. But Ronnie Garvin does not know Kung Fu. But right now, you probably need to know Kung Fu. And so, Ronnie Garvin, wherever you are, on that day, Ronnie Garvin was native and black and knew Kung Fu. And I commenced to get this guy off and this guy off and then this guy off. The last guy had a grip from hell. He had Kung Fu grip. Until I drew my leg back and thrusted it into his abdomen. He had no more Kung Fu grip, but the game went from playing to deadly serious. Long and short, he picked up a stick. I picked up an iron pipe. Now, this is where stupidity comes in, because I'm a warrior, man, and not all warriors are smart. So it's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. You get to hit me with that stick. If I go down, you're going to win. But I got this iron pipe. You get to go first. So he dropped the stick, I dropped the pipe. He went away screaming and hollering how he's going to get his big brother to beat my ass. However, his big brother got injured by a guy younger than all of us out there who threw a pop bottle, which was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, because he was on the opposite side of the street of his intended target. And he threw a pop bottle. A glass bottle. Empty. A little bit bigger than this. And it went from all the way down from where he was standing at the old folks area in the projects, came all the way past me, whistling in the wind, and I don't know how, but he hit dude's brother and broke his fucking femur and the glass. And I was there. I watched that bottle from the time it launched out of homeboy's hand. I'm leaving his name off. I'm also leaving the other guy's name off. And it literally went uphill and across the street, over my mom's car, over the dumpster, boom, hit dude in the femur, broke his fucking leg. Now mind you, the kid that was younger than us was maybe 12 or 11 years old. Possibly 13. But his dad was security. But his dad wasn't there that night. And he was just trying to go home. And the big brother of the guy who I had to fight the next day, He got fucked up. I never seen a body fold like that, but I also never seen a glass bottle fly from down the hill, up the hill, across the street, and hit its target. That shit was fucking amazing. So the brother had to walk around, and I brought that up because at the fight, I brought that up when he said I was going to get his big brother to beat my ass. He had two big brothers. And I already dealt with the first big brother on Tuesday because we were going to get to fighting, and when we got off the bus, him and his partner who was going to jump me, they ran. Because I was like, alright, well, if y'all going to beat my ass, you're going to beat my ass at front of my house so I could just crawl home after I get fucked up. Because I wasn't afraid to get my ass beat. I knew I was going to get jumped, but I wasn't really worried because I knew Kung Fu. However, I had never been jumped before. I do get jumped later in life, but we were not living in the projects by then, and we were living here. And I was showing off, and I got jumped by a friend of mine's friends. Long story. I'll get there. So after that, we didn't have any fights anymore. And me and those guys actually got pretty cool. Now, on the Friday fight, I had to fight this goddamn giant-ass motherfucker. And I've told you guys this story before. And I fought him in the cleeks. I still have those golf cleeks because they saved my life that day. They're dry rotted as fuck, but I still got them. There's a story somewhere in my YouTube channel about that. But the long and short is my sister, who was the first sister to get pregnant, caused all this crap in the first place. And I guess you could say, depending on how you see the story, that I was actually the bad guy. But my sister hit me in the head with some rocks. And she could never outrun me before. Ever. Until that day. That day, Hermes, Jesus, the devil himself, was in her shoes. Because she barreled ass to the Big Children's Park. The Big Children's Park had recently got fenced in. And when she got to the fence, I got her. In the nick of time. Before she could climb that fence, I got her by the top of her belt. And then all of a sudden, the person that I was going to fight hit me with a handful of rocks. And he was 13 and I was 15. But he was grown man size. I was pint size, and he was grown man size. And I had my golf cleats on, which might have been why she outran me, because they're not made for running. Anyway, no excuses. She outran my ass, even with the golf cleats on. She never could do it before, so that could be the excuse. But he tore my head up with those rubber black things and rocks, and I looked at her and I said, 1 second. I'm going to deal with your ass when we get home. My dumb ass went over, and I tagged this fucking Goliath-looking motherfucker in the face with the left hand. Probably should have hit it with my right hand, but I'm training in martial arts to be even-handed, so I decided I'm going to hit it with the left. I didn't even shake his chin. And when he got up, the only thing that happened was my soul left my body and said, "You're fucking dead, buddy." And my body was shaking, but I wasn't, like, in it until he pushed me. When he pushed me, I slid back into a fighting position. It's like I snapped back to normal. And then he came at me, and those cleeks went to his face. And then he fell. He grabbed my leg. His mom showed up, started pulling my arm, and I wanted to hit her, and my hand felt like it was on fire. Like Terry Bogart's Burning Knuckles. It really felt like that. But my hand would not release, and I was trying to punch, and my hand just would not release. So, the cop came, picked him up off the ground, because my cleeks, again, went to his face. Dusted him off and sent him home. That cop was named Granger. God rest his soul. He didn't like me. He didn't like mixed kids. And he took the mother and the guy home. Didn't arrest the mom. I'm 15. She has no business touching me. Me and that guy eventually would become friends also. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because it has relevance to my life. A lot of my uncles drink and smoke. And I guess when they were making me fight, way back when I was 6 years old, they got drunk and they smoked when all this shit was going on. And I guess somehow or another, they didn't make their own sons fight. They made me fight. Only one uncle never participated in that. He was my favorite uncle until alcohol happened. He started off on weed. And now you see where we're going with that. My favorite uncle started off with weed. When he was at weed, he had no problems. And he was nothing but fucking muscle. You couldn't find an ounce of fat on this dude. At all. Nothing but muscle. He's Navy, built like a brick shit house, pumped weights every day, smoked weed, ate eggs, lots of scrambled eggs, go back to pumping weights, go back to smoking, get a nap, go to work, repeat. So years later, after the divorce, after losing the house, all kinds of other shit, because they used to have the commercial, I had it all, and then I had drugs, and drugs took away my family. my marriage, and all this shit. And it was foreshadowing what was to come from my uncle. Now, my other uncles, they drink alcohol, and clearly alcohol doesn't cost you your house. But weed and shit and improper money management cost him his house. I don't know what cost him the marriage, and if I did, I wouldn't tell y'all because it's not my story to tell. But years later, which was a few years ago, like after I got out of the army, I had my yellow car, the car my dad died in. This car, while it was in good shape, I had to get it fixed, and he had a mechanic that could fix the job for cheap because I couldn't afford anybody at the time, and I couldn't go to Matt because I just didn't have the money. But the mechanic was like, "I'll fix this shit for $50." It's like, okay, I can get $50 because that was no problem. I still had enough money from a job that I could pay him, and so that night my uncle was going to tow the car, but my uncle was drunk as fuck, and I wasn't going to let him tow the only car I had because he was drunk as fuck. His son had to come and get him, but before his son got there, my uncle and I had a little tussle, and my uncle would remind me he was the real soldier, and that though I went to boot camp and I got an honorable discharge because I can't shoot, that I wasn't really a soldier. I proved him to be absolutely wrong. I didn't beat his ass, but I prevented him from getting my ass beat, and I prevented him from dying because he almost fell face first onto the porch. But I grabbed him because he put me in a headlock, because it was a hug, we're all good, and then he put me in the chokehold from a headlock. When I pushed him off me, he was going down, so I grabbed him and I pulled him back. And then, somehow or another, I flung him behind me, and he did a leg split, and then about that time, his son came, and his son, my bro, he pulled up, snatched his daddy up, because his son's been bodybuilding since he was 6. So he snatched his daddy up, and put his daddy in the car. And then I drove his son's car while he drove his daddy home, and then I drove back. The next day, my stepfather and I took my yellow car down to the mechanic. The mechanic fixed my car, or at least he had my car, and I said, "Look, call me when it's done. Do not let my uncle get my car. No matter what he tells you, the answer is fuck no. Do not let him get my car." I said, "Here's the keys. I'll bring the extra set when needed, just to make sure." So he fixed the car. And when we brought the car down there, my uncle came back for round 2. And I was like, "Dude, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to fight you." And I was like, my stepfather's talking to him. He's like, "Look, just let that shit go, man." And he's like, "Nah, I ain't going to let this go. This fake-ass soldier, you want to fucking fight? You got lucky last night." I said, "No, I didn't get lucky last night, because anytime you have to fight another soldier or a family, something's going wrong." And this is where alcohol came in. And I love my uncle. I love him. Don't get it wrong. I love him to death because he gave me a home when my own mom and them wouldn't. But he took away my trust for him after that attack. So I do not trust him. I still love him, but I will never trust him again. Now, since then, he does not drink anymore. I still don't trust him. I still won't spend a night in his house because of that shit. Because I'm only vulnerable when I go to sleep. That's it. Doesn't mean I don't love him. It just means I'm never going to spend another night in his house. I love him with all my heart, but I'm never going to trust him. Never the fuck again. You get one shot with me, and if I lose trust in you, that's pretty much it. It can be won back, but it's more harder for me to trust you after you physically try to fuck my shit up. And that's just one example of why I asked my nephews that if your parents did drugs and were locked up, why would you get on the same path as your parents? Now, I have other friends that have done drugs. They've never physically attacked me, but they've done drugs. 2 girls, both OD'd on heroin, and one I stumbled on and saved her. The other one was her friend, who months or years later would do the same shit while I'm having a conversation with her while I'm washing dishes in my dad's house, and she literally dropped and damn near died. I believe she might have died, but I tried to do some CPR. I only know battlefield CPR, so I'm not really good at it. And we called 911, and they got there in time. They got her to the hospital. They revived her, and I'm so fucking thankful. And I tell people all the time, this is why I will never do drugs. I have seen the shit that drugs do to people. You can't get me to do drugs. I don't give a fuck. Now, I do have a fear that I've never had before, and the only fear that I can't conquer is I fear that someone's going to drug me and do shit to me while I'm unconscious. Yes, that shit does happen to men too, which is why when I go to people's houses and they offer me water or like Gatorade, if I can't get it myself, Alright, you see the seal? The seal is not broken. Okay, you see the seal? Now the seal is broken. And no matter how I tighten it up, you can still see that the seal is broken. Okay? And I always check my shit no matter where. If I can't go get the water out of your refrigerator myself, I don't want the water. If the water is not easy accessible, I don't want the water. Because I don't drink that much water, but I drink the fuck out of Gatorade. And I have the fear that someone would drug me through either Gatorade or water at their house. You can't do it through the tap. Unless you're like super genius and stuff. But for the most part, if you offer me something to drink, if that seal doesn't look right, I'm not going to accept it. Just because of the simple fact that the only way I'm going to get my ass beat is if I'm drugged. The only way I'm going to be sexually assaulted by a man or a woman is if I'm drugged. And I don't deal with men that go that way, so I shouldn't be sexually assaulted by them. But that doesn't mean I haven't pissed somebody off on some level at some point, at some time. They decide, hey, remember that time he beat me up? He drugged up and can't defend himself. Now I'm going to fuck him up. So there's the only fear that I can probably never ever conquer in life. And that's okay, because we all have fears that we're just not going to be able to conquer. That's just a fact of life. I've lived my worst nightmare. My dad in my car. And I've still yet to forgive myself for allowing this shit to happen. But in my defense, I had just had a hip replacement. I couldn't work. And I had incredible fucking drugs. Let's just say I had incredible drugs. My walker could transform, and I was Iron Man killing strippers in Canada. So yeah, that wasn't good at all. And when we reduced the medicine, I slept. Like half a pill was like most of the day. How I didn't pee on myself at any point in time is beyond me. But yeah, drugs, man. So a couple of my nephews, their fathers, it's legal now, but they dealt with greenery. One of them went to jail for the bulk of the kid's youth. And now the kid smokes the same shit. And does ridiculously stupid shit. And I ask him, why would you do this shit knowing that this shit took your father and he missed all of your fucking milestones? He missed all of them. He might have seen you walk, but he never got to see you talk. He never got to see you sing I Love Bacon with your crazy ass uncle. That would be me. And all the other important things. He wasn't there to get you off the bus until you were like fucking 14. So you can tell how long he was locked up for. And though we may have butt heads, and though we both may want what's best for you, I can condemn you because I've never done drugs like that. Your parents might not condemn you because they may be guilty of it. But at the same time, he has to look forward to his future. And that ain't the way to go. So when people tell me, why are you so stuck up about drugs? Well, I had an uncle that almost killed me because of drugs. I've had friends die in front of me and be revived because of drugs. I have nephews that I've tried my damnedest to influence to not do drugs. But because I'm not cool, they gone on and done them anyway. Almost all of my nephews have done the greenery, except for one. And he's been straight because his mom's been on his ass. But his dad has done the greenery and some more shit. His older brother, God rest his soul, has done some greenery and some more shit. And I'm not a saint, but I've never done drugs. And I would never tell a kid that doing drugs is okay. I don't even like prescription drugs. I have Advil over there because I'm in pain. But I have to be in excruciating enough pain to take it. When my back hurts, I have Icy Hot, which technically is a drug. I also have a Zorbine Jr. But the difference with that is that it's not going to get me screwed up here. It's not going to fuck with my cognition, and I'm not going to go out and start beating the fuck out of people and doing inappropriate things to women and shit like that. But I have to say to you young men, I hope this video reaches out to you. I hope that you understand that your actions come with consequences. If they are bad consequences, then your actions were never good to begin with, and you should probably think before you do stuff. Now, I'm going to turn it back to my friends. My friends also did greenery. I would never do greenery. And they always wondered why. And I was like, on both sides of my family, I've seen what this shit does to people. And it maybe it takes you being there. Maybe it takes the fact that you have to see someone suffer to understand the ramifications of this shit is not cool. And this is why I will never do drugs. I've literally seen things that nobody should ever see. I've had to deal with shit that nobody should ever deal with because they could not get off of the green. And the people that got on the green and went to other things. It's not so much that the green is your gateway drug, right? It's your lust for chasing that very first high. And you're not going to get it. Now, the two girls that I mentioned, they weren't doing the greenery. They were doing the liquid thunder. That would be heroin, for those who do not know why I called it that. It's just in case that this video might not get played because of saying heroin. That's why I said the greenery instead of marijuana. But I know that the heroin and the crack is what led to things happening that I never want to ever have to see or deal with again. And I know they have these things as CBD oils and all that shit, and I don't do that. I don't know what it does. I won't take the chance with my life on that just because I know how bad my luck is. If I'm in pain, Icy Hot, or Zorbing Jr., ice packs, heating pad, I'll find anything that's not a drug. Okay? Anything that's not a drug before I do a drug. If I have to do a drug, it has to be maximum strength and it has to knock me slam the fuck out, or I won't do it. Because I am afraid if I unleash the stuff that I know inside my skull through these fists or these feet, there's going to be a lot of hurt people. And unfortunately, most of them are probably going to be kin to me, and I don't want to hurt anybody because I am skillful. And most people who do martial arts, the higher your level gets, the less you want to actually participate in combat because you know how easy it will be for you to fuck somebody's shit up. So if you're on drugs and you're a young man, I want you to take this into consideration. Don't worry, I'm just getting started. We're 27 minutes in. I know I gave you a long time for this story, but it was important, the relevance of why I'm going here now. If your parents were taken from you by drugs, whether it's your mother or your sister, an uncle, an aunt, someone who's watching you, if they were taken away from you by drugs, your inability to cope or learn why they were taken away from you should be something that you should consider. Well, my daddy was taken from me because he did drugs. I should probably not do drugs. I had that cognition. I watched my friends smoke, and I would tell them, look, you're going to smoke, let me know, so I can go outside until you're done, or smoke outside so that I don't have to deal with the shit. But you can't tell somebody to smoke weed outside their own fucking house. But if you respect me enough, then we'll both be outside, and you can smoke out there and just blow the smoke in that direction or that direction, and please blow it in the way the wind blows so that it doesn't blow in my face. Because I've always been that guy. Hey, look, I can't stop you from smoking. I don't really give a fuck if you smoke, but I don't want that shit on me. I don't want it near me. I don't want it anywhere near me. I don't want to smell the shit. I don't want to do anything of that shit because I know what this shit has done to people. And it doesn't affect everybody the same. It really doesn't. However, 1 in 1 million will be affected by this shit. In some negative way or another, it could really fuck up your world. And you should probably avoid that shit. But it's hard to get people to listen to you when their mind is made up. If I'm going to smoke weed, I'm going to smoke weed. There's nothing you can do or tell me to do nothing. I was like, if I could just grab you by your forehead and hit a Goku and touch your forehead so you can see and feel the experiences that I felt, and you feel that fear of watching somebody die and you can't fucking save them and you're doing chest compressions and shit, you throw that shit away real fucking quick. Having your family member attack you because of a disagreement about your own fucking car, you would reconsider doing that shit. And again, stumbling on somebody who OD'd on heroin in your dad's bathroom floor, you would reconsider doing that shit. Now here's the thing. I'm scared of needles, so it's not going to happen. I'm never going to do drugs that involve needles. There's a few things that I fear. Needles and horses are in a tie for the top 2. And then there's those flying roaches from Fort Benning. roaches in general. I say I fear horses because I definitely fear horses. I don't really fear death. I fear where I'm going when I die. Because even though I believe in God and the Bible says he shall believe in me shall have everlasting life in the kingdom of heaven, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to answer to him for all the fucked up ass shit that I've done. And I know when I meet my maker, I'm going to stand before him and it's not going to look good. It's not. It's going to look a little bit better than some of the other people. It's going to look a lot better than my family that fucked me over. But at that same time, I'm not a saint. And I know this going in. I know that he's going to know the truth and everything's going to come out of my mouth better be the truth, and he's going to know it if it's not. I don't push religion, so just ignore that last part. But you have to ask yourself, if I lost half of my life with my dad because he was behind bars because he did stupid shit and went to jail, is it worth me doing the same stupid shit? The answer is no, but you have the right to think about it. You have the right to make your choice, and I hope that you learned something from this video, as it's 30 minutes and some change long. Thank you for watching. I am Echo Fan Grey Wolf. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Be seeing.